the thing is, when I dive into the cave, I love to know how was it formed. What is the reason why the water flow this way? And I love to see the faunas, the animals in the cave.
Off Gassing, a scuba podcast with host Nick Hogel. Leaving a career in software, Parasu Komaradat, also known as Poor, pursued his passion for diving. As he progressed, he naturally found his way into technical and overhead diving. Based out of Thailand, he has become one of the most respected and well-known instructors in Southeast Asia, past mentors, exploration, mine diving, podcasting, teaching the next generation of divers, and much more. Please enjoy. Poor, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited to have you on. Thank you for joining. I'm actually quite sad to say that you're the first Thai person that I've had on the podcast, which I'm very sad about. Other than me, so there's a half Thai person that is on every episode. Me, because I'm half Thai. My mother is from Thailand. So just curious, what part of you're in Bangkok right now? What part of Bangkok are you in?
I'm in west side of Bangkok, Thonburi side, the good side, like the one with no tall building, one with like super calm farm country, greens, small house.
Okay. Yeah, my mother, she grew up there in Thailand, and then she spent her summers down south. I was trying to look or where it was, but I don't think I'd be able. I'm so bad at name pronunciation. So, either way, I'm very excited to have you on the podcast today. So thank you for joining.
Thank you for inviting me.
So the first question that I always like to ask is, tell me how and why you became a scuba diver. Tell me about that first breath underwater, that first experience. What led to that moment? Was it, I absolutely hate this? Was it, this is amazing? Was it, this is okay? Tell me all about it.
1994 in Washington State University, and I need to do 2 credits PE course. And if I go through all the list of the PE class they could do, like Zumba dance, basketball, I wouldn't be able to do that with like. So then scuba diving was like, wow, this is cool PE class. So I did it in the college in Washington State.
Okay, so you were in Washington. How long were you in Washington for?
I was in Washington State for about 5 years for bachelor degree.
What part of Washington? Where's Washington State?
Washington State is in the eastern part of Washington, east part of Cascade. So we don't get the cool stuff. So we get like wheat plain. I didn't see anything but wheat field. It's in a town called Pullman.
Oh, okay. I know Spokane.
Yeah, about 80 miles from Spokane, south of Spokane. Spokane is like the closest one I can get good Asian food. And I actually live in Idaho. I live in Moscow, Idaho. And I drove like 5 miles to Washington State. This is why cheaper.
Yeah, there's actually, it's kind of funny because there's quite a lot of Thai food places that have popped up, I feel like, over the last 10, 15 years in all over. I mean, so I moved here from Texas. I live in Malaysia now, but I feel like they're all over the place out there. And like the smallest towns too, it's become the food. I mean, it's obviously very good, but it's become quite popular. When was the last time you've been back to the States?
2015, Florida. So no, not Washington anymore. Always Florida for cave diving.
Ah, okay. Well, before we jump that far ahead, when you took that first breath underwater, how did you like it? How was that whole experience?
It was fun. I did my pool session first time it was the heated pool because it was super cold in the spring of '94. It was nice, and I was trained as kind of traditional like regiment style way. So I feel like it was a kind of military training, but it was fun.
From that moment on, did you just start diving as much as possible, or was it a slow progression into the sport?
It was quite slow progression actually, because we are about 350 miles from the ocean. So we get to travel to the closest diving place we can do who was in Puget Sound, close to Seattle. It was super cold and all dry suit stuff. But I didn't do much in Washington State. I did a lot when I moved down to California. So I lived in Bay Area for about 2 years and then go down to San Diego for some years. So in San Diego, I just love scuba diving. Like then, like we got 14 wrecks. I can do beach dive anytime I want.
Just curious, where in the Bay Area did you live?
South of Walnut Creek,
Yeah, okay.
about 3 stations from Oakland.
Okay, cool. Yeah, actually, so I was born in the Bay Area. I was born in Santa Clara, lived in that area for basically quite a while, and then actually my parents, my father got a job opportunity in Thailand, and then my mother being from there, she wanted to go back, so we ended up living in Bangkok for like a year and a half, almost 2 years. Went to school there. I was super young. It's kind of childhood memories.
You put Thaiไหมครับ?
I don't. I'm very bad. I don't speak.
So you
I
don't
know.
speak Thai at all.
I know
Oh,
Sawat
come on.
Cup. That's all I
Uh,
know. And then when I got in trouble, I knew I was in trouble because my mother started speaking Thai to me. So, uh,
so I will try to speak in Thai, so just to scare you off,
okay.
remind you of dealing from
if
your
you
mom.
uh, if you start speaking in Thai, I'll have to call my mother and be like, what is he saying? What is he saying? But so and then you started diving quite a bit when you went to San Diego.
Yes. Then when I moved back to Thailand, so I did the open water course again because I didn't know how to use BCD. We used only dry suit back then, and I never inflate BCD in underwater before. I just know BCD just inflated on the
Oh,
surface and empty it using dry suit in the water. So that's how I was trained. Then I kind of learned diving in warm waters again.
how did you like that?
Of course, it's much better. Enjoy more see like colorful stuff in the ocean compared to the black and white in the cold water. So it has been nice. And then I was in software before. I started my own software company and I worked like 18 hours a day sitting on front of computers, never take day off until one day I just got some problem in my contract with the some company. Then I decided to sold my company and I just quit everything, sold everything, and then I just okay, I'm going to just gonna do scuba diving until we get a new project, and that was like 17 years ago.
That's awesome.
So that's how I can now I did get into the full time diving.
Was the software, is that what brought you down to the Bay Area?
Not really. I did mathematics in the King College, and I fell in love with photography. So I went down to San Francisco for art school. So I did
Oh,
photography course here. Then my brother also moved to the US and then he started restaurants in San Diego, Thai restaurant. So got a chance to go down and then help me out.
my aunt actually owned. She had a Thai restaurant in the Palm Springs area just for like a few years. I visited. She wanted me to come down there and work, but I was like, Palm Springs, it's very hot. I don't know if I can. I like the heat, not at the time, but it's the desert. It's Palm Springs is a little bit. I don't know. Probably a great place to retire, but not as a young kid in your 20s to live. So, but when you were diving, when you came back to Thailand and you were diving, what area were you diving in Thailand?
So after I sold the company, right, so I got shitload of money from the software stuff. And then I bought 16 liveaboard strips in advance so I can be on liveaboard like all the time.
Oh, wow.
So I actually did a liveaboard trip. And then one of the liveaboard owners says, "Oh, why don't you just try leader dive?" So I start from the liveaboard guiding before I start teaching scuba diving.
Was that in the Similins or where was that?
So Thailand, we got two oceans, right? We got the Indian Ocean and we got Pacific Ocean. And in the November to April, we do the west side on the Indian Ocean, and in the rest we do on the east side. So east side is Koh Tao. If you heard, you must know Koh
Yeah.
Tao. So we do Koh Tao, we do Chumphon during the southwestern monsoon season, and then we do the other Andaman side on the another season. So we kind of go back and forth between east side and west side.
You know what's funny is so the first place I ever went diving was in Thailand on PP Island, and that like Discover Scuba Dive. There was a shop, I can't remember the name of it, but that was the first place I ever went scuba diving. Had an amazing time, and it was funny because I remember. So to backtrack a little bit, I went back to Thailand with my mother. Like 2016 or no, it was like, yeah, it was probably 2016. I hadn't been back there in a long time. She hadn't been back in a long time. And as soon as I landed, I'm like, brought back all these memories of, growing up there or whatnot. And I told my mom, like, oh, I'm going to come back next year for a month, just backpack around. I still have a lot of family in the Bangkok area. And so I visited them, went and kind of just went out and about, backpacking around, went down south. I was telling my mom, like, oh, I'm going to go to this PP Island, and she was like, "Oh, well, we've actually been there before when we were little." She's like, "Why would you want to go there?" And I'm like, "Oh, just it should be really nice." And she's like, "There's nothing there, right?" Because her memory of Thailand is from like the 60s and 70s. Just growing up there when there was not a, there's obviously a lot more now. But so that's the area that I know, but I've actually never been to Koh Tao, which is kind of funny because it's such a
Well,
well-known area.
and you in Penang, right?
Yeah, I live in Penang. Yeah.
Penang is like next door to us. You just. Oh, by the way, they're gonna have train from Bangkok to Penang in the next 3 months, so you can actually take a train all the way to Bangkok.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
They're opening it up? I didn't know that.
they're gonna. Oh, they used to have the one that you from Bangkok all the way to Butterworth, and from Butterworth you jump on the Malaysian trains go to Penang. But now I think they're gonna do like all the way to Penang. That's what I heard this morning. So and you can come to visit Thailand more oftenly. You hop on the trains, got out in Surat Thani, you can cross to Koh Tao. Super easy.
Because I was gonna say, so I was looking at going into Koh Tao, and from Penang, I felt like it wasn't the easiest. Like I think I had to fly. I can't remember where I had to fly, and then from there take a bus and then the boat. I need to figure it out because I still have, like I said, I have family up there. I need to come visit, and Thailand, I mean, always has a place in my heart. So I'm every time I'm like, oh, I gotta go to Thailand. I gotta go to Thailand. But I have not been. It's sad to say the only place that I've been since I moved to Malaysia was Koh Lipe, which is pretty amazing diving. I had a really good time over there. Getting off track, talking about me. I apologize. You were working on the liverboards. How did you find that whole experience?
And life changed because I used to be stuck in server room surrounding with computers, servers, and one day I was surrounding with boat engine compressor. That's really five them car engine. Same noise because you hear the noise of the weather all the time, so it's similar to what I used to experience. Yeah. Then it was super nice. Yeah, it was very nice, and I meet new people all the time, and the make nice thing is I was like super introvert. I was like stuck in server room. I was never got friends. Then I start become nicer, so I become more friendlier. So that's my benefit of being on liveaboard, seeing new people all the time every trip, and it's so super nice when I brought them to see something and they feel wow, like I love that moment. I love to. I mean, I always capture that moment in my memory. Like when I met someone who I met from the liveaboard, and I remember I just saw her shocked for the first time. I could remember her face. It was a game for me when I did the liveaboard, and I also did day trip guiding in Phuket also. So and I did one fun thing is I was in the character. When I was already instructor back then, back when I did, and when they knew that I was an instructor, I never got tipped because nobody tip instructors. Right? So they always tip to the people who think they need tip. So I was in character of local southern people. So I start speaking imitating my this southern accent. I could not speak southern accent at all, but I kind of make the sound like that. And I instead of using my Hasion VCD, so I start using O VCD sequence, using O regulator, and just was in character, pretend not to speak English at all, and then I got tips. So when I start by like when they come up from the, I jump in, take off the fins of them. When they come up from the dive, I ran to grab dry towels, giving to them, make hot cocoa for them every dive, and I got a shitload of tips. Then I spread the tips for the boat crews. So all the boat crews became my team, and it's like really fun game. Then I sometime when I met many people who I met back then, and now they know like me, and I got to apologize sometimes.
When you went on to become an instructor, what prompted you to do that? What, so you were guiding and then you were just like, I want to become an instructor, I want to teach. Why did you go the professional route?
Well, yes, I did all the courses that I could do. So first, I want to learn with like the best instructor. So I was super lucky. I did my scuba diving course with the best instructors that I know of in Bangkok, and then I want to learn more. I went down to do the further courses with the dive center, who I know they are like the best. So I did. We were kind of brainwashed by the dive agencies, right? So we want to like do more and more and more. So I did a lot of specialties. So and the only thing that I haven't done is becoming professional dive master instructor. So I like did all the way in one go. So it was a trap, but it's like you are brainwashed. You need to learn and learn more and more. Or now you are master scuba diver, then you have to become a dive master. When you become a dive master, you have to be instructors. Then you have to be another level of instructors, 25 certification plus 5 specialties and above and above. Above. Yes, I was the slave of the dive agency marketing techniques.
I definitely understand that. It's not that you don't know what you don't know, but you know you're standing at the dive shop and you see that chart on the wall, like, oh, what's the next step? Oh, I could branch out and do all these specialties, and it's kind of funny because I don't think there's a class that I've taken that I regret. I probably would have went a different path, but you know it was a fun journey because I made it from I'm an active instructor as far as Patty and SDI is concerned. I haven't actively taught though since I moved to Malaysia, so I'm kind of bummed. I'm hoping to change that. I keep saying that. I feel like it's been a year and a half since I've been saying that, or 2 years, I should say. But I would like to get back into teaching. There is a joy that I have found in it, and it's something that I'm really hoping to get back to. So, what prompted you to start going down the technical diving route?
Waiting for this question. So there was one, I think I did DSD. I brought two guys, I believe it was either Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan, but the two guys, they didn't speak any language that I know of. And when I tried to get the Russian instructors to actually interpret, they could not speak Russian well off. So that day was really like tough for me. And then I met one instructor so who came and suggested me that how I should communicate with the two students that I got. And his name was Andrew Fortune, British technical instructor who actually he was doing 70-meter dives off Phuket, and he was like super cool and super nice. So I asked him about I want to become technical divers, and then maybe I plan to become technical instructors in the future. So we kind of make a deal that if I do course with him, and I also work for him, and I keep doing that. When I did my advanced nitrox, right, and he made me nitrox instructor. When I did the conversion post years, he made me advanced nitrox instructor. When I did my extended range, he made me the conversion. So we kind of do one levels up. And if he needs any guy, if he need any instructors for like open waters, lower level classes, and then I did for him until we became partners. So we opened another shop in Bangkok, and we plan to open the commercial diving school in Thailand. We were working on the permission, the licensing with the government. Then one day he passed away. So after he passed away, then I was partnered with another friends, and we took over the shop, and then it didn't work. So I mean, back then I was already driving instructors. I was already power instructors, intro cave instructors already. I mean, to become technical instructor is difficult enough, right? But to become technical instructor and can get students that even much harder. And now I got like super cool mentor that I have been doing the courses with, I work with, and he passed away. So I decided to quit from the shop, and then I started working for another technical dive shop. So I quit from that job and I worked for the competitors. And by the way, so I got chance to work for you might heard the names Blue Level Diving, Ben Luminance.
Blue, yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
Blue Level Diving. Yeah, and I worked for Blue Level Diving for part time / full time for about 6 years.
So what one question I always like to ask, because I know for me it was challenging going from, because and I still am. At the end of the day, I love recreational diving. Right, give me a single tank. I probably would. I mean, I would do a jacket BCD if I had to rent one. Usually, I bring my own equipment. But how was that transition going from recreational into technical? I know there's a little bit of a learning curve for people. How did you find that process?
I'd still categorize them as two different sports. Like they might be related, but it's like totally different. I would say when you talk about technical diving, there are more learning progression. There are so many elements of learning, and I would compare to like what I'm doing now is when I teach technical diving, I would compare to martial arts. So I did some martial arts in the past, and then so how we progress the skills, how we enable someone can be able to dive or explore something much more difficult than they used to do. So you need to get them ready before they go. So that's kind of challenging in terms of training, in terms of progression. For recreational, because if I want to be successful in recreational diving, the best way that I could do for this market is I should be able to find very cool nudie brands. I mean, I could get group of people. We got like make sure they are in they proper entertained. They happy with the group with the trips. But technical diving is another way. Like when I'm off from technical diving, I'm actually go back to just fun dive, and it's just to me it's just like two things difference. What do you think?
I 100% agree. Like for me, I think the biggest challenges from recreational into technical, and I'm still very new, maybe like 2 years. And I think the biggest challenge for me was kind of going back to fundamental core skills, trim, buoyancy, propulsion. When you're recreational diving, and I'll even admit at times if I'm recreational diving, I'm probably not going to be in trim the complete time. It just depends on what I'm doing, what's going on around me. Like if I'm in a wall dive, I'm in trim with the wall, right? I'm parallel to the wall. I'm not, so apologize anybody out there that hears that, but that's how I do it, right? I like it, but I think that was kind of the biggest things was to break old habits and learn new skills. I don't want to say the right way to do things, but a better way to do things. And I think when you get into the technical side of it, there's more of a risk, and I know some people will probably hate for me to say that there's more of obviously there is more of a risk in technical diving, but all diving's dangerous, right? All diving's decompression diving. I mean, yeah, but I don't know, to an extent, I guess. But so I really enjoy it, and it kind of gives me something to pursue. So like, to continue, like, oh, I want to be able to get better at this. Let me take that next course. Let me perfect these skills and keep going. As far as progression goes, why did you end up getting into cave diving? So was that something that, you're like, okay, I want to go deeper, I want to go further, and then you hear about caves. How did you progress into that?
Well, so I moved back to Bangkok after the liveaboard thing, and we started a dive shop in Bangkok. And one of my partner, one Italian guy, his name is Ari. He's a really cool guy. So one day Ari asked me, "Bor, can you teach me carbon?" Yeah, of course. Back then I thought like, okay, I should have be certified to all specialties that dive agency provide. It should get me rating super easy to teach him. And then I read, oh no, I have to be a full cave diver first. Then it's just that I promised my partner that I will do the course with him. So I went for carbon to full cave diver with Bruce Conofe in Thailand.
Oh, okay.
And now I'm full cave divers. And I want to apply to become a carbon. And wait, I can just apply. So I read that I need to do 25 cave dive. And so I tag along with him. And then I could be the carbon instructor. Right. So I actually kept my promise to my partner. So that's where it started. And then I want to go further. I mean, back then I was super crazy about World War II history, and I love wrecks in Thailand. We're lucky that we got a lot of World War II wrecks around the country, and also in the Philippines, in Southeast Asia, a lot of wrecks. When I read about the World War II history, the place that I love to go is Scarborough Flow in Scotland. So that's still my dream. I haven't been there yet. I remember, like many people always say, include all my instructors, if you are a cave diver, then your skill is good. So if you cave diver, then you can do anything. So I tried to pursue my cave instructor. So I did process with Bruce in Thailand, and then I went to Mexico. So I did my cave instructor course in Mexico. Then I got super nice, super cool instructors, and it was like one of the best instructor courses I ever done. Now I know Mexico. I spent about a month in Mexico. Then I want to know more, and so I went up to Florida and I did some courses with Lama Heights, the owner of Diorite. Then I became the Diorite just distributor for Thailand back then. I also was into CCR and I did CCR courses, CCR cave courses with Lama Heights himself. It was like really, really good experiences that was really good foundation for me of going Florida and Mexico for my cave training. Then I start teaching cave diving in Thailand. I believe from 2013 to 2018 I did carbon into full cave like consecutive all the time. So that was how I got into cave diving.
So Bruce, actually, he was one of my early guests on the podcast. It was a great conversation. It was super, just awesome to hear about his journey as well, because he's been in the Thailand area for quite a few years, and he's done some amazing stuff out there as well. I saw him post something that he was like heading. Well, I think he had chatted with me, and he was telling me he was kind of headed into that retirement phase. But then I saw him the other day post something. I don't know if he was teaching a course or if he was just participating in a course, but yeah, I need to catch up with him. I know he's doing some other stuff outside of diving. I keep saying like, oh, I'll come visit, or I need to come visit Thailand. And I feel like the list just keeps growing longer and longer of the people that I need to visit. But a question I wanted to ask, because I don't want to say it's a debate, but there's always conversations about this. Between Florida and Mexico, which one did you like better?
Can say different. They are different. All the caves are different. Different kind of technique to dive, different kind of techniques to, like Florida's cave is average of 30-meter depth, strong flow. You'd have to have a hold onto the rock when you're getting in. And Mexico, small, less strict, shallow, less flow. And you have to use one technique in Florida, one technique in Mexico. I mean, every cave divers should know how to adapt their techniques into each kind of environment. And then when you come back to Thailand, we got deep caves. My cave entrance is 27, it's go down to that 40. In my course, we get into the entrance at 20 plus, go to 40 meters, and we get to run close to the completion almost all the time. But it's really difficult to do carbon course. So we use nitrox. So many things which is like difference among the types of cave. Indonesia also different from Thailand, so close to Mexico. But the thing is, when I dive into the cave, I love to know how was it formed. What is the reason why the water flow this way? And I love to see the faunas, the animals in the cave. And some caves, there are some human artifact inside. And why they are there. I mean, every time I dive, even I dive in the same cave in Thailand all the time, every day, I always learn something new. So I'm not sure I'm actually answering your question or not about which one is good, but I enjoy Florida cave diving so much because of the flow. And then when you hold onto the rock and you got water flow in the cave 1 hour in, and you know that, oh, you can just let your hand go, ride the flows out. That's like, wow, that's super cool feeling. I miss that. I miss that feeling. When I dive in Mexico, it's always like reminding of all the memories. Everything I saw in Mexico, like always like flashing back in my head when I see something similar to that.
So here's a better way, I guess, to ask the question is, so if you were offered a ticket, either Florida or Mexico, where would you go?
I would go to Florida first and then fly to Mexico. It's really close. It's easy to go. So
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
Jacksonville to Cancun, it's super easy to go.
Yeah. Another question that I wanted to ask. So obviously I know Bangkok. I don't, to my knowledge, I want to say I don't know. I'm assuming the nearest diving. I don't know where the nearest diving is. Is there challenges that you have running a dive shop in Bangkok to be able to promote and get people to go and dive? Like how does it, do you run into challenges with that? Because it's a little bit more than just, you go down to Phuket or I'm sure Koh Tao or any of the other places. It's like, okay, we're going to go in the ocean, we're going to do our confined dives, and then we go back in the same ocean to do our open water dives. Do you find it challenging running a dive shop from the city?
Yes and no. It's different. If I'm running a dive shop in Koh Tao or Phuket, I know that people are gonna come and they have like a time that they want to spend to dive, maybe 5 days, 7 days. In here, it's like communities. Some students they want to do open water course. Some people they do it like 3 months. They just come for 1 hour pool this week, and then on the weekend they come. It's mostly weekend based. It became communities now. Like everybody knows everybody to get to the closest dive site in Pattaya. It's take 1.5 hour drive. You hop on my board and it's take 1 hour to the dive site. And I can even drive back. But normally we stay there. It's different when then we set up a trip for the liverboard for maybe somewhere in the regions. We go to Bali, Raja Ampat sometimes. But the most difficult thing to run a dive shop in the city is to create communities, play the club, and make sure that people will have a hey, I want to die with Paul. I don't want to die with somebody else. And the things you need to compete with the other day shops in Bangkok. And now I think we have like hundreds of instructors, maybe thousand. Like I go everywhere, I go on the board, and then everybody is instructors. And you got something like this in most of the big city in Asia, Singapore, Taipei, Jakarta. It's dive agency do not really have a kind of business model for something like this. And this is the business technique and how we do business here are kind of invented by ourselves. But the nice thing is we have strong communities. We share a lot of knowledge. We share a lot of things. When we go dive, sometimes we join the other dive shops and become good friends. Different from if I go to Phuket, Koh Tao, I see a person coming to the course, and when they go back, I would not see them again. It's different. It's two different things. But the challenge is you only have 52 weekends in a year. So 52 weekends, you cannot miss one of them. Then you cannot run the business.
So I just became full cave certified like recently this year, like in the last 3 months. I went to Mexico for.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was an absolutely amazing course. I had an amazing time out there. It was funny because when I came back to Malaysia, I'm like, man, it's going to be a while before I am able to dive caves again. And then, I start looking around and there's obviously areas to go diving. Indonesia being one of them. We just missed each other out there. But I kind of wanted to speak to you, I guess, about the mines because correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know, but it seems like there's a lot of mine diving coming up in the Thailand area. I don't know if it's just because it's becoming more publicized. There's not advertisements. That's not the right term.
It's because of Miko.
Yeah, yeah. Well, exactly. And so,
Everybody know Miko.
has there always been a mine diving scene? Have people been doing it and now it's just more publicized? Or can you just kind of tell me a little bit about the mine diving in Thailand?
First, my diving activities in Southeast Asia that I ever heard of was in Malaysia. Yeah, they're a group. They call themselves MCDA,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Malaysia
yeah.
Cave Diving Association. Lee Ken Lee. So Lee Ken Lee found really nice mines in Malaysia, and he found a lot of caves in the area, in the Ipoh area, in many places. So that was the first that I heard about mine diving in Southeast Asia, and the other one is in close to Beijing. Is a marble mine, I think, some kind of mine in north of Beijing. It's very cold, but very cool. That was the second one I heard in Asia. So what happened is we got super cool guys. David, I don't know his real last name, so I call him David. Uh, so David is like he's not a diver. He's at like cave and stuff explorer. He loves holes and everything with climbings. He do a lot of bunch of like vertical stuff, vertical caving stuff. Then he went to one place and he called Miko, right? So Miko went there, check it out, and wow, there's a body of water, super easy to access. Then Miko called me to join. What we did is we tried to talk with the local people and how we could implement the system that we can actually go dive there legally. I got arrested a couple of times so also diving somewhere that I was not permitted. I have to make sure that we can actually dive there legally and we can make sure it's also safe for us to go dive every time. And we were super lucky that the mine is super convenient. I can drive and back my truck right into the water. You basically can go stand in my truck and dance right off to the mine. So there's no like carry tanks walking up and anything. It's super simple. And it's just turned out to be first we tested the water. We took water sample, we tested on site, we also tested in the lab. And okay, water was safe. And then we got in and we kind of did a lot of survey. They are like super huge mines. Now the maximum depth that we went is 80, 90 meters. Patrick Whitman actually went down to 90 meters with Nico. But this took a long time. Like you talk about like 1 hour on DPV. Another Thai guys also found another. He actually tried to find all the hidden spot in those mines. So we did a lot of exploration, surveying, and then we tried to map them. Then we start taking people in. So me and Miko, we start doing my diving course. So for people who already full cave like you, we have a program called My Diving Crossover. So we show you what the difference between my diving and cave diving, and you guys dive in with us for 3 to 4 days. Then we always teach you how to survey, so we can use you as our minions to actually mapping the cave someday. Then it's become super easy to access. It's 23 degrees Celsius, which is cold for many people here, but it's quite warm if you compare to the other mines diving sites in the world.
You know, you have the caves, they've been there for however many years. It's a natural formation. You have a mine, it's a man-made formation. What's the stability of it? I don't know if that's the wrong, not the stability, but is it are they degrading over time? Like, does that question make sense? Because it's as put, like when you have something man-made, I feel like it's like, okay, this naturally wasn't here, but obviously they didn't build it to crumble a couple years later. They want to build it to last. So can you tell me a little bit about that side of mine structures, I guess?
So first we need to know, so how did they build the tunnel? Then you need to know how they try to find ores, right? The mines we dived in Thailand, so both of them are lead mines. So they're waiting to find the a rock, the ore that's contain galena, lead sulfide. Before I did my diving, I actually educate myself about mining itself. For instance, the question is why is there are only the lead mine in those mountains, but not anywhere else? Because in the area that mountains, it's actually the limestone was formed in O division. about 480 million years ago, compared to the surround Permian period of mountains, which is about 350 million years ago. So at about possibly about 100 million years apart. And it's happened in other regions. A lot of heavy metals are actually have encapsulated in the limestones. And so when you know that, they have three types of mine: the tunnel mine, shaft mine, and strip mine. Strip mine is kind of an open pit, so it's not overhead. These mines in Thailand are tunnel mine. They build tunnels. They go deeper and deeper in gyro. And whenever they found the ore, they found the galena ore, they will start bombing. So they're using dynamite. Most of the time, they actually try to dig the tunnels deeper and then try to kind of start bombing from sailing above. So it's go actually bombing up what we saw in the large chamber area. So you have to know that how they did this in this mine. They are the size of tunnel because they are the part of tunnel that they built for 6-wheeler truck to get in. And there are another smaller one for a pickup truck to get in. There are another smaller one for a man with cart with the trolley inside. So you kind of need to learn how they build the mine. And there are some area that they have the blockage, not let people in because they just like newly explore. So then you try not to get in there, and you have to know when they build the tunnels, you have to try to make sure that you don't see. They also put some kind of leewets to make the rock stabilization. If you know that, then you can make the judgment that this is safe or not safe. So that's quite similar to wrecks, right? When you dive wrecks, it's not everywhere in the wreck that you can go. So mine's kind of halfway between wreck and cave. The passage might be similar to cave, but it's man-made. So you have to know how man-made. When you dive the wreck, you have to know the component of the ship. You have to know amidship, bowwards, where's the sterns. If you dive in the steamship, you have to know where the boiler, where are the aft cargo, forward cargoes, and you kind of navigate through that. And mine, you have to learn the same thing is when they build tunnels down underground, they want to build it deep under the groundwater, under the aquifer, because the minerals are actually richer under the groundwater. When they dig the tunnel through the groundwater, it means the water gonna come out. So they need to put a lot of pipe, pump the waters out. And when you dive in, when you see the pipe, you know that's the pipe that pumping waters out. When you dive in right now, we looking for quick shaft to go deeper, or we try to map everything. So if we dive somewhere and we got stuck there, we can have the alternative way to get out. Sometimes I look at the number of how large the pipe is, what is number of flow. I try to locate the pumping station so I can actually estimate, guess where we are going and know where were we. Like now we are in the newly explored part of the mine, or we are in the transport tunnels. And we try to see if the pipe going down, there should be some kind of shaft, and we can actually use it as a shortcut. When you get lost in the cave, you lost the line in the cave. What would you do, Nick?
So if I lost the line, I would tie in somewhere, right? So I would take my spool out, tie in somewhere, and then start basically just kind of doing a search pattern. Are we talking about no visibility or full visibility? Hopefully, in a cave, I'm not super far away from the line, but I would basically drop down, tie in, and then start doing a search pattern. Obviously do the 2 points of tie-in, so the first tie-in and then the second tie-in, and then try to go off in that direction. And I might be confusing that with a no visibility, trying to find something in no visibility. But if there was high visibility, I would kind of look around. But the first thing I would probably do is tie in, but then try to use my memory and natural navigation after I tied in to be like, okay, I came from this direction. This looks familiar. But as far as me, I guess that would be the process I would start.
In Mexico, you normally drop down to the bottom, right? You're looking for two rocks that you can tie primary tie off, secondary tie off. Then you have the directional reference when you create the search button. But in the mine, it's flat smooth. There's no place that you can even do any tie off. There's no rock. It's just flat smooth wall, flat smooth, and If you go down to the bottom, you have about 20 centimeter thick of silt. So you could creating worse visibilities in the mine, and you don't have anywhere that you can do a search for the entire off. So when we dive mines, especially the one that we're doing in Thailand, is we carry I call it drop weight. I put the bow snap on a lead weight. If you lost line, we can just tie off on that weight and then put it down as our
Okay.
first tie off point. And we try to go to the go to a little bit shallower to the sailing. We might get the visibility back, and you might be able to actually navigate back from the sailing more than going down. When we find some piping, then we could find some exit from the pipe.
Oh, okay, okay.
So something like that. So this is something that actually different from my diving here and the cave diving in general.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense because
Mm.
and that's what I say. I'm still extremely new. So even when I went and visited Robin in Indonesia, that was like the very first thing I said to him, like, hey, I'm very new. So I'm not trying to go and do the biggest, deepest stuff. I'm just trying to get some time, build some time in the overhead so that way I can start to gain more experience. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed the time out there. But another question I wanted to ask about, as far as mines, I would assume that when the mine was built, they had, they're surveying, they're coming up with their own information, making maps. There's information, or am I completely wrong in that? Like when you find a mine, how are you researching the information that hopefully is there for the mine? Is it just a lost cause, or is there any information?
First thing is we know that my stopped operation in 2003. So that's 20 plus years flooded. We got no map. We found some people who actually used to work in the mine. So we found the people who actually, the miners, who work digging stuff in the mine. We actually talked to mine engineers who used to actually planning for the mine. So we got some those information, and we have match of the map that we do. We don't have like the whole blueprint yet. It's actually more fun to fight by self. It's
Yeah.
like if you know all, it's kind of spoiled it, right? If you start learning some new things by yourself, it's more fun.
How did you find the people that used to work there? Is that like public record, just going and finding the business and
I asked around, went to the village. Most people are in the village. They have migrated into the village after the mine shut. Actually, there was a resort, and the resort's called like Miner's House. And so went in, and then, have you worked in the mine? Oh, yes, I was an engineer. So then we got like, now at least we met the engineer. So we got information from him, and we tried to match up with what we saw in the mine. It's all based on luck. We were super lucky.
I'm always kind of curious because I think that's kind of a kind of like comparing it to a shipwreck. There was at one point information out there. Depending on how old the shipwreck is, you might still be able to speak to people that might have been on the ship or had something to do with building the ship, depending on when it was built. And I feel like that would kind of be a fun thing too to do that research, looking into like, oh, okay, where was this mine? Or when was it built? Who was it built by? Can we speak to some of the people that were actually in the mine? So yeah, I was just always kind of curious about that because I didn't know if there is public information or if there was not, and it's just something like, okay, we're just gonna put our scuba gear on and go and find out what's really going on here.
We didn't have those information. So I need to do more research on the mining techniques from the lead mine here myself. Like when you see a big steel levet in on a wall, and you know that, okay, when they build a tunnel, so that is the unstable part of the wall. So that's why the reason why they put the levet. But if you saw that thing sticking out, then okay, try not to get close to that. So when you get into one kind of so the mine is going kind of narrow down, like deeper and deeper. And sometimes it just go and it just becoming huge chamber. And if the arrow start going in the other way, then you can, okay, maybe they found a lot of ore here. So they change the direction of exploration of the survey according to where they found. So it's not like predictable hard way that you will expect.
So you have a podcast. Can you tell me a little bit about your podcast?
I used to have one podcast that I talk like really deeply into the technical diving in Thai. Then I decided to start it all over again. Right. So I'm going to do something super simple. We're going to talk about diving and coffee in the same podcast. So we call it Dive Espresso. I invite one of the super nice lady who just happened to look like my daughter, like exactly like my daughter. So when I talk to her, like I'm talking to my kid, and she's just super crazy about coffee. I'm super crazy about coffee, and so we're gonna have talking about coffee and diving at the same time. And we haven't actually we did one pilot episode, but I wanted to redo it again. So we're gonna do our first actual first episode tomorrow. And so tomorrow my topic is I have to present Toraja coffee from Indonesia, from Sulawesi. That's gonna be my part of the coffee, and then she's gonna do. I think she's gonna do Guatemala Antigua coffee, and then we're gonna drift coffee, and then we talk about diving. So tomorrow we're gonna talk about dive algorithm. I want to go through back in the when decompression sickness was called Gaisong disease during the building Brooklyn Bridge. Those things, John Scott Howden experiment with the goat in the chamber, something like that, and then we just keep drinking coffee.
I love it. I love it. That sounds like a great concept. Because I usually, most of the time before every show, I'll have a cup of coffee. I'm a coffee drinker. I love coffee. So here's a funny thing too is my mother, she's probably, well, I know for a fact she's never listened to an episode of my podcast. But one thing that she loves doing is she really likes her Thai TV shows. She watches lots and lots of Thai TV shows. She always watches Thai news, Thai TV shows. And so I'm actually going to send her your podcast if it's because it's all in Thai and I know she'll listen to it. So that way she can learn a little bit about diving because she knows diving obviously what it is, but she doesn't know it super in depth. But I guarantee you that she'll listen to your podcast just because it'll be all in Thai. She can put it on in the background as she's doing housework. So I'll let you know how that goes just because I'm like, oh, okay. He can teach my mom something about diving because I'll talk to her about it, but she won't. She'll just be like, oh, I don't know what it is. But I think that's funny. So I'm excited to introduce her to your podcast.
You will be my guest one day. Let me kind of get it started. Make sure we have like good chemistry with another host. So should be good.
So is the coffee lady? Is she a diver?
She's a diver. She has been diving for 3 years. If I do a podcast myself, and who's gonna look at me? Right. So now you got like super nice, beautiful ladies smiling while I'm talking. I mean, you don't need to listen to me. You just look at her. It's good enough.
So it's gonna be on video.
It's gonna be a video also, of
Okay.
course.
Okay. That's one thing that I lack is I need to incorporate my podcast into video, but it's just so much work. So
Everybody do video right now, so you should get a video.
I know. It's already a lot of work, and until if a big broadcasting channel reaches out and says, "Hey, we'll pay you to do this," then I'm like, "Okay, I'll do video." But right now, it's just a fun thing that I do on the side. It costs me more money than it makes me, so I will put the time in, and I'm happy with just the audio right now. But it is something that I need to do. But my last question for you before I let you go. So somebody that is going to make the transition from their career, like what you did, you had a career, you were on a path, and you changed it to start doing diving. What is the best piece of advice that you could give to that person who wants to get out of their career and pursue a diving career?
First advice is don't quit your job yet. It doesn't pay in the first year for sure. You have to be nice and kind. You have to know the market. Super dedicated to what you want to do. I focus on learn how to be cave instructors. First, I get to dive different cave caves in the world. I have to learn from the best, and I got chance to learn from the best. What I learned from like, diving with and learning with many people that I respect is people who are very good instructors, who are very good divers. They are super humble. They still keep learning. They're learning new things all the time. They share. So you have to be kind, you have to be humble. And you have to be smart to use the marketing techniques from the diving agencies, from the diving manufacturers wisely. Use them for your benefit. You know their marketing plan, and you can use that with your market. Then you try to be fair. I have been doing this alone. I mean, I don't work for any license. I mean, I still associate with some license, but I run everything on my own since 2018. I never have website. I never have price list. I post something that I do in that day on Facebook. I get to teach every day. 99% of my students are from the student who did the course with me before. So in each course, if you want to be in the like doing this as professional, make sure you run the best course that you can in every single one of them. You not only look at the money, you have to make sure your student learn best and they enjoy so they can refer to someone. Also, you have to keep improving yourself. This is what in my experiences from I did a lot of IDC, instructor training courses, and I have taught so many recreational instructors. 90% of them, like after they finish course with me, after they become open water instructors, they just never learn again. They are like, now I know about diving. But 10% of them, they still keep learning. When they finish the instructor courses with me, I kind of expect them to, if you have any problem, you can actually call me, consult me all the time. I want to be able to kind of suggest them. Like sometimes I suggest to someone, they didn't like it. So I think you have to be like open mind and learn more because they are much more about diving than I'm still I don't know everything. I'm doing my next training for myself actually first week of September. Like someone who better than me. I want to know something that I go learn. So be humble, open mind, make sure like, when you lead a dive, it has to be the best dive that you lead. When you do the course, it has to be the best open water diver course that you ever taught every time. Then the next day, the next course, it has to be better than before. Then you get people come back to you. Some people they have trapped in the one like they are in Thai we call a flop in the coconut shell. Like the thing like coconut shell to your world. When the coconut shell flip, the flop coming out from that space, then they found that the real world is not easy. That's my suggestion. And one thing is I could not be this far without my mentors. So I still respect my mentors. And when I have any question, I always ask them, I always consult them. And I also try to be a good mentor for everybody else.
That is an absolutely amazing answer. I really, really want to thank you for joining the podcast today. It's been absolutely amazing to hear your journey, to hear more about the mine diving in Thailand. It's been absolutely amazing, and I definitely have to try to make it out there at some point. I need to come visit, or next time you're in Malaysia, let me know. I hear there's some good wrecks in Penang, but I don't know if there is, but no, thank you very, very much for coming on to the podcast today. Offgassing, a scuba podcast.